Hi, welcome back to our Sproutable Parent Q&A. We've been getting a lot of questions from parents about timeouts. So your pediatrician might recommend it, or you get literature in the mail with the different developmental milestones that say now is a good time to start using timeouts. But then you might also be reading in the positive parenting circles or in positive discipline that timeouts can be damaging. So what is really the truth? We like to look at brain science for this and child development and neurodevelopment. And we know that when children feel safe, their brain is in an optimal place for them to learn. So when a child is placed in a timeout that's punitive, so when they're isolated, when there's shame or blame, that social isolation or that disconnection in the relationship can be very scary for kids. They're not sitting there in the corner saying, "Oh, thank you so much for this reflection time." Their brain is just afraid. So in this way, timeouts sometimes work because children are so wanting to just reconnect with you that they will comply with their behavior. And it has worked in the short term, but long term, they have now really only known that the relationship is based on that little bit of fear or being scared in order to comply. And they actually haven't learned the lesson. They haven't learned the skill. I think if we use the analogy of reading, we would never teach reading in a punitive way. We would never say, you go sit on that naughty stool until you can read that book more fluently. And I don't want you to come out until you can do it. No, we would totally break down the steps. We would give lots of practice. We would be patient. We would be encouraging. And we would be firm about it. We would say, nope, we got to practice every day, and let's go to the library and let's get some more books that are at your level. I mean, we would really hone in on this. And yet we look at social skills or social emotional development or even emotional regulation in a totally different way, as if kids are supposed to just spontaneously know how to do this without practice. So the reframe is that instead of using a punitive timeout just to stop the behavior, we want to actually create a place for them to calm down and learn the new skill. We want their brain to feel as safe as possible. So we're actually teaching two skills here. Number one, we're teaching their brain how to calm down, how to feel safe. And then once they are in that place to be able to receive that lesson, then we're able to teach this new skill. So maybe that is how to take turns with the toy or how to be safe and gentle with the baby. But in order to do that, our kids need to feel safe, they need to feel connected, and they do that through social relationships. So when we use a positive timeout, which is the term that we use in positive discipline, it still is that break. We know that kids can get really dysregulated easily. Their prefrontal cortex is not completely wired. They're still just growing those neurological loops, and they're just starting to practice being able to control their own behavior, which they really can't do until that 3, 4, 5, that later ages of those preschool years. So when that positive timeout space, they're able to have a space to calm down and regather and get their brain into a place to be able to learn the lesson. So it's not that we're just letting them get away with their behavior, with their misbehavior. It's just that we're letting their brain get to a place where they feel safe enough to actually integrate the lesson that you want to teach, right? Or the skill that you want to teach. So when we think about a punitive timeout, in contrast, where they have to be in a corner for how many minutes they are, for how old they are, or where they're really isolated from anything that makes them feel comforted or good, all we're doing is reinforcing that part of the brain that is stressed, that releases that cortisol, that makes them feel afraid of you. And ultimately, our greatest tool in parenting is our relationship. I think what makes it so difficult is that we weren't explicitly taught. We were taught reading, but we did not have a separate class on how to control our own emotions or how to talk about feelings. And so it can be hard for parents when they don't even know how to express their own feelings or what they do to control their own emotions as well. So I think just honoring that place and saying, maybe I don't know how to teach it, but I know I'm just going to start from this place of modeling, of naming feelings, and knowing that I want to be teaching and not just punishing for having those big feelings. Real moments are learning moments.